Tara Lynn with 5 Acres Honey Farm. I am going to give you a April garden tour, getting it and under the wire on the last day of April. And I have already shared a little bit in my last video about the crimson clover that it's blooming right now, and I'm actually getting distracted because I'm seeing the bees on the crimson clover still, and it's really nice to see them actually using it after putting it out there. It's kind of what I like to describe as like seeing your dog play with a toy you got it. The same happy feeling there. And I also shared a little about all the daisy fleabane behind me and how that is just kind of we're letting that spread around the property. So I'm going to start with the apple trees, and you might have seen an earlier video that I shared where I've been doing a weekly application of neem oil on these apple trees. So if you're new to following, I live in Pittsboro, North Carolina, which is in the Piedmont area of the state, kind of like central area of North Carolina. And in this region we have what's called cedar apple rust, and that is a fungal infection that many apple trees get on their leaves due to a spore that cedar trees release. And I have a few videos on researching heirloom apple trees that are known to be resistant to that cedar apple rust. And those are the trees that I planted last fall. We'll take you over there and show you, and then we'll stop at the pond garden, the in-ground garden, the high tunnel, which I just looked at a picture that I took a month ago from when I planted everything in there, and it looks a lot different. After the high tunnel, we'll come back and take a look at the container gardens that are also really taking off on the deck. So you can see the leaves look really healthy. I haven't noticed anything growing on them. One of the things on my list to do is to mulch all around here and to layer some cardboard down to prevent the weeds from really taking over like they are right here. And this whole area, I see the bees hanging out here on the crimson clover. This whole area will kind of remain crimson clover and the white clover for now. I was going to layer a tarp down here and just kind of kill everything that's here, and then plant in some perennial herbs, and I have fennel growing, and I have a whole design for this area from the permaculture class that I took this winter, and this whole space was going to have like a pathway through it. Like I already walk through here to get down to the coop, so I'm kind of in a holding pattern right now, not just because everything's blooming here, but also because I'm kind of second guessing my plans for it, just by how we use the space and things. But all the trees look really good. The neem oil is doing well, and I'm really glad that the crimson clover came up over here, because I was starting to be skeptical if it was gonna come up or not, but it's looking good. So my container gardens here still have the garlic in them. They're gonna be full of garlic for a few more months, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plant in here a pumpkin, and I'm about to order another raised bed to put in this space here. So I haven't really decided whereabouts it'll be. I've got some thoughts on it, and then that's gonna have a Three Sisters garden in it, which is what I did in the initial raised bed last year, and it did really well, and like the pumpkin grew like all the way toward the house. I'll see if I can find a clip of it. And I'm hoping to do that again. And also, once it'll probably be, I've got to figure out a way to do it, because what I really wanted to do was have pumpkins growing all around the yard, but with the crimson clover growing, I have to kind of time it the right way. So still thinking about it. If you have some good tips on growing pumpkins, I would like to hear it. So let's take a look at the pond garden. Flip it. You may have seen in the video from earlier this week that I've trained the bees to use the pond now for their drinking water, and I did that by putting some lemongrass essential oil into some water here, and I had put a little bit of salt in it too because they prefer minerals. So it's pretty much in like low 80s today, but it just felt really hot. So they've been hanging out here getting their water, and there are some tadpoles in there too, but it's a little murky still to see them. It's looking pretty good. I have not had much time because I've been busy with the garden, but I have like some weeds coming up over here, and like these plants, I keep meaning to plant them exactly where they are, and I just don't. Oh, my poor bee balm, I need to give it water. Yeah, this has been like the lower priority stuff, but I've just gotten caught up on the garden, other than I'm going to be planting the squash and pumpkins and sunflowers today and tomorrow. And so then my next plan is to come through here and layer cardboard and compost over the weeds that have come up. The forecast is super dry recently, and also next week looks really dry. So that's good in the sense that it's slowing down the growth of all these weeds, but it's kind of bad because it's putting a lot more pressure on me to go around watering the plants that need the water. Here's the high tunnel. This whole side is potatoes, and I have a little bit of sweet alyssum here, but it just kind of goes back and back. I've got a little cosmos and calendula sprinkled in between the potatoes, and probably going to add some more. And I've got a row here of like the potatoes that I had saved from the year before, and that zinnia looks like it's going to bloom really soon. And I just got all the hardware stuff I'm going to be putting in for the irrigation, and hopefully in the next week or two that'll go in. And I've just been going through that door. I'm still figuring out what I want to do with this pathway. I was going to just put cardboard down and then just the regular compost, but I saw some cool stuff in books about like putting like some kind of like stone medallion here, and I'm thinking about it. It's okay for me to wait a bit. Along this whole piece here, I'm going to do some melon, and I've got all the peppers in here so that way the melon can just kind of trail out this way and serve as living mulch. And you can see I got tons of tomatoes on all the ends here, even along the other side, and I want to have them grow up, and I'm gonna do like a laddering system. So like we'll have a support across the top and then just train them to go up strings as they grow. This whole area, I'm going to put a pumpkin like kind of closer to the tomatoes, and then kind of let it trail and grow down. That's kind of going the southern direction. And I don't know what's going to be happening in the heat of the summer with the sidewall. I was thinking of putting like another piece of wood, like kind of like in between it to prevent the deer from coming in. But we're just going to kind of wait. The idea with, and there's screens on either side. Ooh, so pretty. But the idea of the high tunnel is that, we need it to be open for the pollinators. So, you don't want it to be totally closed all the time. Check out this broccoli, you guys, and all the kale and my peas. There is so much going on over here, and these berry bushes look pretty good. I pretty much like my blueberry bushes, which are a little bit further away. Those aren't looking so great, but these are looking good. I've got all the carrots pretty much left over here. There's like a few other patches going, but these are the most mature ones. And my peas, look at them. They just kind of like popped up one night, and after I saw one, now there's so many more. So this little area where the carrots are, that's where I'm gonna start planting some melon. Because if you think of this root to fruit, crop rotation, so that will be the next piece going in. And look, the radish is gonna flower soon, which is exactly what I want it to do. I love harvesting the pods that develop after the radish flowers. And the bean lady is getting some beans to clothe her soon. Sometimes they just need to be trained. And the other, it'll take it a little bit. Yeah, so the other one's already learned to go up. So the others will follow. She's gonna look really good soon. And these potatoes just totally filled in. I already hilled them once, and I might hill them again. And this little patch of kale, I have so much kale that I have dehydrated and frozen, and It's incredible. And this whole little section, I have a calendula trail going up to the bean lady, letting some of the broccoli bolt, but look, more potatoes. I cannot wait to harvest the potatoes. And as of tomorrow, I can say I can harvest the potatoes next month because May is starting soon. So let me show you a little bit of how I've set up my tomatoes here. So I always keep basil near the tomatoes, and I also plant borage. So like I'm just fixing this pea here. So here's the borage, and then I've got a tomato, then I've got a basil, and then I got another tomato, and then another borage, and then tomato, and then there's a cinnamon basil right over there. And I left another radish over there to bolt. And this is a volunteer lettuce that is so pretty, and I usually forget to harvest from it because I'm harvesting from all the other lettuce plants, and this little weed can pop out and we can throw it in the compost. And there's another volunteer lettuce behind these peas. These peas just aren't tall enough yet to grab onto the trellis, so I'm just waiting for them to get a little bit bigger. They can just hang out here for now. And there's that volunteer lettuce. This is outrageous lettuce, and it is a lettuce that they grew on the International Space Station. And my whole other side here, I've got my radishes that I'm letting go to bolt here. And they are just so huge. Like, I'm trying to show you by scale, like my hand here. Like these radishes, they're gigantic. And I'll just leave them in place. So like that radish taproot will just rot in place and help nourish the soil. And they're going to flower, and then the pods they produce are going to be great in stir fries. I also have a little chamomile hanging out there and like one lone carrot. And this is the whole space where I'm going to put more melon. I'm also going to do a Chinese noodle bean, which I've never grown before, but I'm going to have that trail up and hang over the archway. But and let's see over here, I got a little flower patch, which I think it's going to be cute. And this bee balm has gone crazy, so I'm going to harvest some of it tomorrow morning and dehydrate a lot of it and try to cut some back because I'm going to be doing corn planting through here. I mean, this yarrow, it looks so good too. And I have a teeny little cotton plant that I'm growing out here. I have a few on the deck. And this little bean teepee and this fava beans, these are looking really good. I'm just letting those mature. And I've got a calendula hanging out below the bean teepee. But those are kind of growing a little bit slower. And I've got some oats here. And then I have these more strawberries. There's so many strawberry plants. The buckwheat is about to flower. That is just going crazy fast. Some radishes here. And then I've got a black hulless barley that I'm growing for the first time. And I like how kind of ornamental it looks for now. And a purple kohlrabi, I've got a bunch of them, and a volunteer potato. And this is my Japanese tomato ring, and I'm going to do a whole video just about this, but I'm really excited. And this poor guy looks a little sad because I had to put a bowl over him during the nights that it got close to freezing last week, and he just hasn't regained his posture, so I'm going to tie him up to the cage in the next few days, and he'll be fine. But I've got borage here coming up in between the next tomato plant, and I have another borage and a volunteer potato coming up between the other tomato plant. And I haven't had much luck I put a bunch of basil seeds around, but I had trouble starting them in trays this year. I think they're just older, and I'm going to create cuttings and get them around soon. This is the first year I've grown mustard greens, and is this gorgeous or what? I mean, so pretty. And these peas are finally tall enough to grow up the trellis. All of this has just been, I've been harvesting so much food, and these little peas are just, there was a trellis there, but not right now. And the peppers are looking really great. This whole space, I was going to have peppers all in between the lettuce so that the peppers could take over for the summer, but I ended up planting all the peppers in the high tunnel. It just seemed like a better fit, so I can do something different over here. I've had a few struggling with some beans across this trellis, and they just haven't really been coming up and staying up, so I don't know what the deal is, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, more outrageous lettuce over here, and I've been harvesting a ton of this, and I have noticed that there's some little volunteer carrots back here, and the peas are finally like really trailing up here, which is great. Lots of volunteer sunflowers around, which makes me really happy. And another guy needs some help trailing up the trellis here. Okay. Now, we'll go, it just looks so nice. Once all the summer stuff grows in, this will get very shaded over here, so it'll be a good spot to try and grow some. Oh, I also have these volunteer tomatoes over here too, and I have to figure out a place to put them too, but I was thinking of doing like a lot of lettuce stuff over here to see if it will do well in the summer. I've got over here, oh my gosh, my first okra is coming up. I need to plant some more because this is what that trellis is going to be for. I didn't see many of them coming up there though. This was a cauliflower that I've let bolt, just growing it as an experiment for the first time. And I've got lots of onions through here and these little peas. All the peas need help. These trellises are meant for tomatoes, and it's the first time I'm using peas on them. And I have to think of a better system next year. But I think, oh yeah, I kind of like this one. I kind of tore a little bit yesterday, so this part didn't survive, but now it'll just mulch the ground. And down here I've got, this one is just persistently not wanting to use this trellis, but we will succeed. Believe me, P, you would like this trellis. Okay, good for now. And through here we got the carrots, and I figured that the peas would help provide some shade for the carrots, which is what is happening now, because like with the heat, you know, in this full sun area over here, it would be too much. But take a look at this. I have these like little blackberry bushes that are coming up because I had kept my blackberries in containers over here all of last year, and so some of the roots must have come out, and now I have to figure out how to get them out of here. And of course, more peas need some training. They really need an education here. And this whole space, it's been interesting to see, like this broccoli, the leaves are incredible on it. And you know, the broccoli leaves are edible. And then like the other broccoli over here, it produced a lot more actual like broccoli head. And these are not like head broccoli, I forget the actual name of it, but these produce like little shoots. So you just kind of cut and come again, harvest off of them. So like this one, I just decided I'm gonna get all of them, and you can eat the stem. So like I'll probably come out here tomorrow and cut that stem out and then stir fry it with some of the snap peas. Quick stop to visit the quail. I am picking up, I just noticed there were some eggs in here, but you can see this little guy. This poor guy had his whole scalp ripped off by another one of the quail roosters. So he just spent the last week in, I'll show you in a sec, this little area that we added to the cottage, this little porch, I guess, or what I'm calling right now the love shack, because I put in here, this is Mr. Snowflake, one of the roos, and Mrs. Snowflake is inside right now, but I'm trying to breed these guys, and because they're both so beautiful, and I would really like to see what their chicks would look like. So yeah, as soon as I open it, she hops out. There she is. And so we got little peanut butter in here, and we have a little family of mice living back there. I know I really should relocate them, but they were so cute. All right, we'll wrap up on the container garden here on the deck. Yeah, let's take a look here. I just want to show you, my husband just got me this new really flexible light hose, and it's like super, super light. And I didn't even know that this pretty much existed, so it just is so much easier to water the plants now. And And I also got me a sprayer for it too, which I just started using in the garden, and it just makes things a lot easier. I'm not like bending down over stuff, and it's a great addition, and it's just a standard, let me put this quail egg down so I don't harm this. Yeah, but it's just a standard. I still have the little price tag on it because it literally is from today. And yeah, little spray end here, and then this is a 0G little hose. Let me see if I got that. I think it was in focus. Did one watering with it, and it's awesome. So let me spin you around and show you what has happened with these plants and then what I'm planning to do. And this morning, I guess this has become such an attractive area. Well, yesterday I had a toad who's hanging out up here, which it's been a while since I had a toad residing up on the deck, which I really like when that happens. And then this morning we had a baby bunny on the deck too. I think I have a clip of that. So the little bunny, and I guess like maybe fun fact, something that I learned when I was looking into getting rabbits, and that is not a rabbit that I intended to be here. So, but what I learned is that rabbits are really territorial. So generally you're not going to see more than one in the same space. So since it's a bunny, since it's a bunny, a little baby, that indicates to me that, I don't know when they leave their mother, but it might be establishing a territory here, because I have never seen a rabbit on our property ever. We've been here a little over 7 years. I have seen them up the street a ways down, when I walk the dog, but now we'll have to keep an eye out for some rabbit damage. But for now, so far I think it was just scoping it out, because there's no problems yet. I will start over here. I absolutely head over heels fell in love with the Paul Robeson tomato last year. And this year, since I'm growing so many different varieties in the garden, I decided to grow my favorite over here. So I've got Polly all along here. And just in case, I have a spare Polly. And I do have what I'm hoping was my seedling that was a Brad's Atomic Grape Tomato. Doesn't look like it's doing too well. Because what I like to have like at least one cherry variety or grape size variety up on the deck just for snacking if I'm sitting here. So for now I just have like Paul Robeson's, kind of like a slicer but not too tremendously large. I like eating it fresh. I feel like it's too good to use in sauces, and so I haven't done that. Just got some calendula here, nasturtiums, my fig tree still haven't planted yet, and today my first marigold started to bloom for the season. Agastache, first time growing that. It's in the mint family, so I've got it in the container. I'm curious to see how it grows. Cinnamon basil. I've got a green twister coneflower. It's really slow growing. I grew it from seed. And then I've got a purple opal basil here. And again, I generally have a lot of basil, and this year my basil seeds just don't seem to be doing well, and I actually ran out of holy basil seeds, so I only have one holy basil, and I wanted to have 10. So I'm being patient as I can. I'm gonna wait till they're a little larger, and instead of starting from seed, I'm gonna take cuttings off of them, and then and I can actually show you what I'm doing over here, because you could do this with tomatoes too. This was another Paul Robeson, and the seedling tray got all messed up. So instead of separating the roots and damaging the other plants nearby, I just cut it as far down as I could, and it had absolutely no roots on it. This was just the stem, and I've kept it in this jar, and within 5 days it started to grow roots, and now it's been in here for maybe 2 weeks, maybe a little more, because I haven't had time to pot it up. But now I've got another tomato plant, as if I need more. So that's the same idea of what I'm going to do with the basil. And then as I kind of showed you out in the garden, I like to keep basil borage next to the tomatoes. So I've got my borage in here. This is the first time I'm growing it in a large container, because last year I didn't know how big it got, and I had it in this teeny little which one is it? Like something like this, and it was just really huge and crazy. So now I'll let that grow on its own. And then they kind of died in the middle of the summer, so that's when I was planning on putting another, like a tomato in it. But it looks like I had a bunch of volunteer tomatoes show up, so yesterday I thinned them out and left one. So we'll just see how they grow together in the same space. And this potato leaf type variety I'm growing for the first time is no, it's not the other one. It's a dwarf sun gold. So I won't need a trellis for this. And this is kind of the dilemma that I realized I'm getting into, is that I have 1, 2, 3, and then I fit 3 here. So basically 6 tomato plants, but I've got about 9 or 10 of them here. So I'm trying to be creative and thinking of what I could do, because I like having these planters around on the deck. So like the more trellis pieces I put up, I won't be able to do it. I mean, I could very logically put a tomato here, but I like having some variety in here. So I'm toying with the idea of adding some kind of support here and here for some more tomato plants. What I hesitate to do here, and they're only here temporarily until I, get them all trellised up as they get bigger, but I specifically have them under the gutter because I don't want the runoff. I mean, like some of them might be getting it right now, but I don't want the runoff from the roof getting on them because we have an asphalt roof. So just having those extra, chemicals going into the food, there's no need for it. I have here described in my last garden tour video how I plant the carrots in here Labor Day weekend last year, and I should be done harvesting these by the end of May, because I pretty much have like 1 or 2 every day as they're mature, and like they're all getting pretty close. And so I just kind of thin them out, so like if there's some pretty close together, I'll take like a little baby carrot and put it in salad, and then it lets the others get bigger. But I've got another Polly in here, and then I have another Polly over here, and I put turmeric, I guess are they seeds? The turmeric root, the little pieces in here last fall, and nothing's come up. I don't know when or if it's like supposed to be coming up. So I'm gonna check with a few people. If you know, please comment, let me know what it's supposed to be doing at this time of year. If I don't see anything really happening with it, I will likely put this Polly in here. And since I am running out of some space here, we have plenty of space on the back deck. It'll just be like another thing for me to water if I decide to start using that space more. I've got red root sage here, growing honeywort for the first time. It hasn't, I mean, it looks pretty much the same. It got bigger, but like I haven't noticed like any flowers or anything on it yet. And I'm growing 2 in here to see how they do in a closed space. I've got ground cherries here. I have 4 different varieties, and I may have hopefully written down a note to myself about which one is in which. I believe I put them in alphabetical order, and so I'm hoping when I move them, I will keep them in this order, but we'll see. And I keep forgetting that I have lettuce up here because I'm eating so much lettuce from the garden, but when I do remember, it's really helpful because I can just come out here and grab some more and bring it back in the kitchen. Everything else over here so far, like this, tonight and tomorrow, most likely going to be tomorrow, I've got sunflowers, watermelon, cantaloupe, and pumpkins and squash. These are all going out. They're gonna go, where I showed you, high tunnel, in-ground garden, the raised beds, and I don't want anything in this tray anymore by the end of the day tomorrow. Like, I just want to like get as many things off the deck as possible. These are my spare tomatoes, should anything happen with everything else that's out there. Probably in the next week, I will let friends know, and they can adopt these and take them as their own. I just did a plant order from a local grower and picked these up 2 weekends ago. These are tons of herbs. I think I might do a separate video on these because I've learned so much about them. I spent some time just sitting with each plant, and this is rue, and I can't even pronounce some of these, Jacqueline, I don't know the name. There's self-heal, a Siberian motherwort, so many different things, and it's just really interesting to me. So just growing, I have grown skullcap before, and I actually found some overwintered ones, so I didn't even need to buy them, but it's fine. And then I have an elderberry seedling here to join the one that's out by the garden. Variety of different flowers in this pot. Parsley. This parsley looks so different than that one, and this one's bolted very quickly, so I don't know the difference between these, but I only had seeds for one variety. I've got lemongrass. I've got a bunch of different chamomile around, and I realized what that plant was. If you watched my last garden tour, I was like, what is this? And it got really, really big. And the other morning I was trimming it down because I'm like, I don't know what this is. And then I recognized the smell, and it's over here. It's catnip. So that container used to be underneath this one, and this was flipped around. And so it must have seeded in there. And I should have probably just dehydrated it all for some tea, but I had already like chopped it up and thrown it around places. So I'm just kind of letting that hang out. And once the lettuce, goes to, bolts, I'll figure out what I'm putting in there. I was going to put some peppers in, but I didn't. I had so much space in the high tunnel, I just put the peppers all out there. And then this is some mugwort that I just, motherwort that I put in, that I noticed had seeded itself where I had kept it out by the pond. And it's getting really big, and I'm just going to wait until it actually blooms so that the bees can enjoy it. And then I'm just going to cut it back because so much of it has, grown elsewhere that it's fine to be without this one. And I'll put something else in this container at that time. And my coral honeysuckle has finished blooming. I need to find a home for it. It's so tough with like vining varieties. I don't know where to put that. And I have my grapevine as well. I don't know where to put. Growing marjoram for the first time. Still have some fennel down there I pointed out. This honeywort, same thing. Really sad lemon balm. I had just kind of put a little seeds shoot off of one of these over there, but it needs to be done soon. So I got lemon balm, comfrey, all that fennel that I want to put out by the apple trees. Already showed you the holy basil, more chamomile, and this old rusty chicken water. And I saw some basil coming up here, and I believe this is either the cinnamon basil or Thai basil that I grew last year, and it may be another variety. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to let them grow up, and then when they get a little bit bigger, I'm going to scoop them out and put them in the different places around, since I have some more space to put things. Something weird here, and I don't know if you're familiar, but like, is this like a poison ivy tree or something? Because poison ivy started growing down there. You can see the 3 leaves down there, and I need to remove it soon before it spreads too much, because this time of year is a really good time to stop it in its tracks. But this thing just like pops up each spring, and it seems to be related with when the poison ivy pops up, and I'm really like scared to touch it. And so tomorrow morning I'm gonna have some really long trimmers, and I'm just gonna cut it and just throw it down there to rot, because the roses just started blooming this week. They look gorgeous, and I don't want this thing, whatever it is, overpowering that and shading it out. But like, this doesn't look right, and it grows so quickly that it cannot be a trait. I mean, this was not even present at all earlier, maybe like a month or 2 ago. Like, this is kind of nuts. Like, it's kind of growing like vine-like. So yeah, I need to get rid of this very soon, and plus then it will let more sunlight in for the plants on the porch. So yes, that is the garden tour. Let me flip this around. Thanks for coming on this garden tour. There was a lot of information there, and I hope some of it's helpful to you. I'm hoping to have more to show you next month.